Namaskar, friends. A very warm welcome. Or in this series of taking up key themes, as we have been doing in the previous series, also you will see that if you go through the theme, you will find a kind of a pattern in the discussions. So, going with the same idea, we will be taking up first. A global recession is not in prospect. The topic says that there might be certain developments by which we say that the global recession may take place, but it will not be happening. It must not happen. That is what it is. So one of the basic aspects to understand a recession may be taking place is when the world's largest economy, that is the US, if it is not creating enough productive jobs, stock market is tumbling, and even other industrialized and other nations like Japan or even for that matter Germany or even France or UK, whatever it is, like the big countries, the setup, they may create a kind of an impression that the global economy is in danger, but the global economy may not be in danger. But definitely, we agree with the fact that there must be certain changes in the world economic outlook and also the pattern by which world trade is being conducted and those big powers having hegemony. But in spite of all this, we can't say that there are short ideas that there will be a recession. So when it comes to labor market, Mansi, why do you think that they only consider uh, data and parameters from the developed countries? Why not the same is happening with developing countries of Asia and even Africa?
So because we are seeing the large players जो हैं वो ये global economy को drive करते हैं, अगर उनमें slow down होगा तो developing countries पे भी impact होगा. तो as we say कि they are the leaders because of the large share and the impact that they have. So that is
So
the
the,
reason, sir.
this graph is also showing the same. What this graph is depicting.
Unemployment rate, sir. So United States का we are comparing with the selected rich countries. So here we are seeing यूएसए का अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट रेट ऑल्दो लाइक बहुत शार्प इंक्रीज हुआ था कोविड-19 की वजह से, देन इट हैज बीन डिक्लाइनिंग. तो बाकी रिच कंट्रीज से अगर वो कम है तो इट इज इंक्रीजिंग, इंडिकेटिंग मोर स्टेबिलिटी इन यूएसए कंपैरेटिवली टू अदर selected rich countries. So it
So
is
you want to say,
so we
yes, you
might
want
not
to
be
say,
heading towards recession.
so you want to say the world's richest countries determine their rich labor force,
Hmm.
and their labor force will determine whether recession is taking place or not in the future. And the countries are taking protectionist measures. Their immigration policies are such which will be discouraging more and more people coming over. Only skilled people are encouraged, and rest are not. That is why job growth is very strong over there. But such is the way and life over there. We can say so. We can move forward, please. So, in this regard, if I say that the global corporate earning growth, it is moving towards a positive outlook, how do you see India in this context? What do you see about India's economy going on in the which direction? In fact, we are not as such using or following the purchasing managers index in such a great way, and we have been working towards certain changes in our accounting methods, and even also the kind of data that we are putting forward. How do you see India's position and thinking?
So India is again a growing economy, and as we have the vision also being the third largest economy, so we are having again the economic policies in sync with that vision. So in India's case, even when we're talking about the capital market, so India is again amongst the top five in the world. So that is also indicating the attractiveness or the opportunities in terms of even investments, not just for FPI, but even in case of increasing FDI also. So India remains one of the largest market in terms of even sir labor supply, or the largest market because of being the world's most populous country as well. And plus the economic stability and the political stability, so that is also aiding more investments into India. And so we
Okay.
are developing economy, so again the growth is going to be increasing in the future because again the prospects are more compared to the developed countries because they have
Mhm.
already achieved that being developed status.
Okay. Can you move forward, please?
Yes. So,
Again, on the same lines, why the fear is sweeping markets everywhere, it is saying, but again, it's a broad statement. India is not having well developed market forces, whether it is capital market or whether we talk about monetization, moving from informal to formal economy, if I use a simple term. So, if the point is that if there is a fear around again, so if I ask you a couple of points, what do you think makes global powers be in the fear, whether it is their own doing or whether it is their own strategy?
so we often talk about again, there's like unstoppable bull run is being visible. That can be because of again the structural shift also that we are seeing a lot of money is being pumped into the capital markets particularly. So it might lead to concerns related to bubble formation. So that is one concern, and again things again bubble will be bursting at one point of time. So that is the main we can say thing or factor which is driving even the big falls that we're seeing now.
Okay. So, do you really think that when something happens of that sort in Japan or in US, then what is the first impact which India feels?
So the impact is same. The only difference is the time lag. If things are falling or the market is falling in Japan, because it has crashed massively in Japan. And then even in US also the Nasdaq index that we see as we are monitoring how that is moving. So again the next day we see the same impacts even in case of India. But initially we are not seeing such a large scale of impact on India. So that is also
Mhm.
the positive factors that we are seeing, that if US market or Japanese or other, like for example Chinese markets, they are falling, but the scale of fall is very less in case of India.
So we can move to the next topic, please,
Yes.
because we have to see from the understanding of Indian market and the digital behemoths or these big companies. They are mostly concentrated and linked with the US as of now.
Now it's
Now, this is a very interesting theme which is related with economics but technology. So, what is going wrong for Intel? The giant chip maker has shed 40 billion US dollars in market value in a day. So, Intel Inside, that we have read always. So, market reaction to Intel is very bad. It is a semiconductor giant. Profit is going down because it is planning to slash even jobs and to suspend appraisals and dividends. So, Mansi, for decades, Intel dominated the global chip making.
Jason.
Elaborate how and why.
So we can say one of the reasons can be the natural advantage and the support from the state or the public sector. That can be one of the reasons, as we're talking about the state encouraged monopoly. So that can be the reasons. But now, what challenges Intel is facing, or why it is again seeing decline in terms of even its sales? Because firstly, we are seeing new competitors in the market. They are emerging, and they are posing to be strong competitors to Intel. So that is one of the reasons, like we have Nvidia, which is again based
Correct?
in US, and then Taiwan company
As
TSM.
we can read, as we can read that Intel dominating global chip making
Mm,
and having a deep relationship with Microsoft, it focused on PCs. That is why it missed out the boom in demand for mobile phone chips, and many of its rivals they have moved ahead. They have moved to fabless model in which chip designers outsource their manufacturing to foundries. They are not doing in their own like they are happening in Taiwan. TSMC is a very big, very powerful company. For India also it happens also. India is also part of the design, but actually semiconductor development is yet to take place in that sense. We are working on that. So the manufacturing of the semi manufacturing of the chips, that is very important. So steady loss of share to AMD, an American chip designer, and Intel has been absent from very important, which we often talk about, AI chip, that is artificial intelligence chips market, which is dominated by Nvidia. So Nvidia is the world's most valuable semiconductor firm. This you can bring in your answers also. And now Intel is trying to separate design and manufacturing into two distinct businesses. So that is how it is happening. It is trying to catch up as a fabless designer, but it is going to take time. So in this light, what do you think India, what India can do? We want to be 5 trillion. We want to be developed by 2047. We want to have self-reliance in manufacturing. What this all gives a lesson for India.
So for India, as we are seeing also, we are moving the direction of more investment, setting up of more manufacturing plants, specifically when it comes to not just assembling these semiconductor chips, but also their manufacturing, their designing. Like we are seeing recent investment by Tata Group in Assam has been happened. So we are focusing again at the same time more on FDI also, apart from the indigenous players having a larger share in the global value chain, specifically for the semiconductor chips.
We can move forward, please.
Yes.
Now, this topic, Bank of England lowering interest rates. So the question first arises, Mansi, you please answer. Why any bank, central bank, is going to lower interest rates in what circumstances?
So the main thing is we need to understand that why they've been doing the increase in the repo rate hikes. So we were seeing that because of supply chain disruptions after 2020, because of COVID-19, the inflation has increased. So to regulate the inflation, the repo rate was being hiked. Now the point or the question is that how long will be maintaining the status quo, or whether we need more increase in the repo rate, because inflation we have seen for enough, like almost 4 years, it has been almost 4 years that inflation either it will be declining, or what challenges, other challenges, which again monetary policy is not able to solve. So declining of repo rate is important because it supports the GDP growth, because the borrowing cost reduces because of decline in the repo rate. So we need to again maintain a balance between achieving the inflation target level and also ensuring that it does not hampers the GDP, because again repo rate hike has a trade-off between inflation and the GDP growth rate.
Mhm. So the point is that uh, now they are trying to cut down because they want to see what are the other ways, because the decline is there in inflation also. And in this context, another question is that growth and the labor market. The picture will be very, very confusing because Britain is facing multiple challenges on different fronts. So that is why labor market is not so much in healthy position. Unemployment rate is also increasing. Job vacancies are also down. And the poor quality of much of the British economic data is also not helping it. When we say with respect to India, now Indian central bank, that is RBI, is also maintaining a very fabulous stand from last 4 years, or you can say from the COVID and post-COVID times. Uh, how do you reflect back on India's policy, RBI's policy with respect to repo rate, or you can say with respect to monetary policy?
So RBI's monetary policy stance has been hawkish, or we can say it is again targeting the inflation rate of 4% and managing the inflation within the target band of 2% to 6%. So hawkish stance indicates that we are on a tight monetary policy so as to reduce the liquidity in the economy. And sir, again, this is more in context or more in sync with the economic changes which are happening in India. We're not completely or blindly following what the US Fed is doing, which was earlier
Right?
a concern for even the Indian economy. And this was again a part of debate also, that we need to shift to the Indian indicators. So we are seeing we have been able to identify other challenges also, like food inflation is still remains a challenge, although core inflation has been declining. So again, the recent monetary policy committee even stated that RBI governor stated that until we reach the inflation target level of 4%, will not be going with the rate cut cycle of the repo rate. So that clearly indicates that inflation is very important for us, because if we start reducing the repo rate, then what if the inflation starts to increase further? If we wish to again keep the growth momentum also strong, but we want a real GDP to grow, not just the nominal GDP. So the monetary policy is more in sync with all these dynamics.
Okay, we can move forward, please.
be some.
Now, coming to the next topic, which is very important, South Asian monsoon, past, present, and future. Monsoon for India is not just geographical phenomena; it is the soul of growth in one way. So, the four keywords: famines, trade, even science, and even social life. It is all linked with monsoon. When we talk about that, then we have to see that such a huge impact is being made by monsoon in India, that IMD prediction and our models are going to impact not only our crop production but also the trajectory of economics, not only in rural India but indirectly in urban India also. For example, it is talking about observatory by Maharaja of Travancore on the hill above Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala. So at that time also we can think of that how important monsoon had been, because in June it marks the official 6th June. I am not able to recall the date correctly, but that is how it is. Between 1 to 6 June, the date is there. That on that June, official beginning of India's rainy season, that is monsoon is there. So monsoon, summer monsoon is very important as far as growth is concerned, and as far as even economic life is concerned. By September, uh, this is a kind of a span, and then that's how everything happens in between. There may be deficit, there may be surplus, and so on. So it is a complex nature. But then, as we can see, it can destroy crops, it can carry away soil, water running off the land before it can be caught and stored, flooding, especially urban flooding that we have been witnessing. So a bad monsoon can knock Indian economic growth very badly, and effects will be seen in Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, because they are all neighboring countries, and then the large population which is based here. So that is why if a comment and quote is here, which is a very beautiful quote. The budget of India is a gamble in rain. Can you explain it, Mans?
Sir, again, the budget of India is a gamble in rain in terms of if we predict, or the IMD prediction shows that there'll be El Nino impact of El Nino. So how the budget is focusing upon the agriculture sector, how we'll be managing the NPAs of agriculture sector, and ensuring that the food security is also not compromised. So we are again gambling, or we are again deciding into what should be reduced and what
Yes,
should
we
be
can say
increased.
correct. Yeah, you are right in that sense that if the monsoon is not up to the mark, or monsoon mechanism is somewhat subdued, or it is not behaving the way it should behave, then Indian economic system get deeply impacted, and it has an indirect impact on the electoral prospects also. For example, in the present time, even in the coming elections in Maharashtra, there are soybean cultivators, cotton cultivators, sugarcane cultivators. Everyone is having their own genuine issues. Similar thing goes for Haryana also. For Punjab, as we had discussed, that if you want to change a crop, then how much difficult and how much systematic and streamlined effort is required. So Ganges, other rivers, we talk about cleaning Ganga, we talk about cleaning Yamuna in Delhi. So it is a very tough but a very long-term demanding job. And mind it, when we are talking about urban planning, then even our answers must bring sewage treatment plants and also cleaning of the rivers. Especially many of our capital cities are on the banks of many rivers. So it's a sea breeze, I agree, as far as beautiful and a positive social life is concerned. Sangam literature is also talking about it, and Kalidas stories are also talking about it. So monsoon is a great phenomena on a great scale in India, and in summers you have then monsoon, which is called retreating monsoon, and it is going to impact southern states mostly. So we have very much clearly understood, though more and more is being done, in order to understand monsoon. For example, the fact is that the Indian Ocean, it is written over here, does not stretch up into Arctic, because Pacific and Atlantic, they are stretching. That means water warmed in the tropical regions cannot just flow north, and it is taking heat with it. It stays in the Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal, lapping at India from the west and east, like this from the both sides. And the subcontinent north is linked with Tibetan Plateau, the highest on the planet, and the summer heat, which is going to draw monsoon moisture far higher into the atmosphere, and that is how it is going up to the Himalayan peaks. So monsoon is thus a mixture of necessity and chance, another very good quote. And it is an arrangement of sea and land and flow of heat from equator to pole. The mechanism is being explained. We have also already discussed all this in our geography series. And the point is that how monsoon, when we are talking about even coming of the Portuguese into India and even Vasco da Gama coming up in 1498. So monsoon remains a very key integral element of the history, geography, polity, economy, and all other parts. ITCZ, that is Intertropical Convergence Zone, another example, which encircles the world close to the equator. This is a zone of low pressure. We agree with that. Low pressure zone, warm air, and that is how low pressure draws in the steady winds from the southeast, and which are known as southern trade winds. So it is explaining in a simple way some geography concept which you have already covered. And the northern hemisphere, when we are talking about it, then it is the ITCZ, which is sitting south of equator in Indian Ocean, and it is becoming a dynamic part of monsoon, as we have already discussed. So South Asian monsoon and the East Asian monsoon. East Asian monsoon is going to affect Indochina, Philippines, South China, Taiwan, Korea, and part of Japan. It is amazing. It's a very, very important thing. But we have to see that how India can get the maximum out of it. From the examination perspective, we have to see the cropping pattern, we have to see people's lives, we have to see how we can minimize the damage with respect to floods, and we have to also see that what can be done more and more in order to make sure that maximum positive utilization is there. I think water harvesting, water storage remains a very, very important key thing. They are also talking about history of India, where we can see in ancient times when the merchants and the guilds, they are moving to Southeast Asia from Burma to Thailand, and they are reaching even southern Chinese emporium of Canton, which is also called Guangzhou. So India's influence is extraordinary. Buddhist temple in Borobudur in Java, we have read about that. Even Angkor Wat temple in Cambodia. And Malabar coast is also having people of interfaith, even Jew people, Christianity also came like that. So it's a very beautiful an amalgamation of all. And even Arabs, East Africans, Bengalis, and even Okinawa Island, they are talking about Okinawa Island. When I even went to Japan, then I came to know for the first time about Okinawa Island. I heard that it is Lonely Man's Island, it is what is called. There is a Okinawa song also. So when 19th century coming up, then the coal, steam, and iron, Europeans, they are uh, having colonial dominance over Asia by means of their weapons and by means of their ships. And that is how constant flow of raw materials, cotton, jute, grain, timber, tin, and then they are dumping India with the cheap quality goods. And that is how Asian ports, Bombay, Calcutta, Madras, even Batavia, that is Jakarta, Manila, and Shanghai, they are coming up. But in this context, we have to see that Chinese ports are far, far ahead. They are the world leaders, they are the world's gateways. In that sense, we can see. So that article is very beautifully talking about giving an overview, which can be helpful for us in context of even essay and also in context of certain questions in the prelims examination. Now, one anecdote is also here. William Roxburgh, who was a surgeon who is coming to India to join East India Company. He is going to settle down in small Kota, and that's how many foreigners have come up over here and they have settled down. The Godavari cultivators, the Kaveri Delta in Raichur, Doab, and British were far from the first rulers in Indian subcontinent to transform the hydraulic landscape. Now, it is also giving example of Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro. It is talking about the Indus Valley civilization. And Akbar. Before Akbar, I would say not mentioned here. Firoz Shah Tughlaq also played very important role. He is also going to create network of canals and drainage system And Dalhousie in the modern times is going to start with public works department and designing for Yamuna and also other kind of big things. So infrastructure is being created. Yamuna River, first 2 centuries, early 14th century Sultan, as I told you. And then that is how the British are coming up. And then we have to make sure by understanding this article that if India is going to become a world leader, then it has to take into account the vagaries of monsoon also. British India went on to rule us by understanding the same. Cash crops, they were grown here and they were taken for exports. We suffered a lot. Our agriculture remained primitive, our productivity remained low, our production also remained low, and there is fragmentation of land also. But then monsoon continued to play its role in all circumstances. So that is why we can say that Indians, though hardworking, but they have their own culture, they have their own way of living, they have their own they have their own system. If we move forward and see that famines were there in spite of monsoon coming up every year, for example, Lord Lytton, it is written here that there is no need to stockpile grain because it will be distorting the market. Railways were built with the help of taxes that had impoverished, and there will be starving peasants, and that is how we had a very systematic exploitation, sugar coated knife. That is what is Dadabhai Naoroji says. Amrita Sen is arguing what happened in 1870s was the rule, not the exception. That is how we came to understand mass starvations there, and it was not climate driven; it was British policies driven. So there were famine commissions, but they were not able to do anything. And especially the Bengal famine of 1943, during that period, Indians died in the street in front of well-stocked shops guarded by the British state. Now, after reading this, you must become more sensitive, you must become more sensitized, you must become more confident. And 3 million Indians died. There was a devastating cyclone also, and the scorch earth policy of colonial official. That means they will destroy everything, including boats, transportation infrastructure, especially in Odisha and eastern northeast part of India. And India will be getting independence, but still moving forward in a democratic way. So that is why the British rule created lot of issues, lot of poor work culture, we can say. But then today India is moving ahead. India is understanding, playing a positive role, understanding monsoon. In fact, one of the other important topic theme discussed here is ENSO. So ENSO is also having one of the most important features of southern oscillation. There is a pattern of air pressure over the Pacific. So a complete understanding is there. We have discussed this again in our geography series. But then what we can appreciate is that now in general parlance also, when we're talking about economics, we must know about history, we must know about geography. So ENSO, it is saying, and for El Nino, the name Peruvians give to warm waters around Christmas time, and so for southern oscillation, that's what we say. It is also explaining that how ENSO shifts in the warm water of Peru, direction known its positive phase, and then when the winter is over, warmth water is stored in the waters of Pacific, flows into the atmosphere and warming the whole globe. So that is how it is. And so is in the positive phase, it is going to impact differently. When it is in the negative phase, then also is going to impact differently. So computerized global climate models, that is what our IMD also knows about it. It is helping us. We have satellites also. We have Indian Natural Resource Management System, and we are working in the positive direction. One more example here given is of northeast state of Meghalaya. Meghalaya is the world's most if I say the maximum rainfall takes place in Meghalaya only, it is abode of clouds, and the Bangladesh, which is obviously which is also now an independent country, but then our geographical and our other features are interlinked. It is giving an example of Mansuram also. It is daily rain for good 9 months of the year. So it is telling us that the settlement is seeing 11.9 meters of rainfall in an average year. That means over a dozen times more than what example it is giving is of Manchester State. So still we are trying to have our own logics, our own way of cultivation. We want to move forward with productivity. We want to move to more organic and more natural way of doing things. So meteorology playing an important role, but monsoon is a great challenge. And satellite imagery and cloud busting radar plays an important role. National Institute of Ocean Technology in Chennai, NIOT, it is also playing an important role. And another fact which they are talking about is the deep sea salinity which is happening, which we even talk about Sundarbans also. Brahmaputra, Ganges or Ganga, Godavari, Krishna, they all play a very fabulous role. Many perennial rivers are there, and the rivers of southern India, they are even not perennial, they are seasonal rivers. And we have to understand that rain falling is very important phenomena, but then climate change, human activities, over exploitation of resources, plastic, microplastic, which is even there. And then they are giving examples even of Khasi Hills, pepper gardens, beetle leaf plots. Things are changing. Look and think about how the Western Ghat committee by under Sir Gadgil, which was not implemented, and it damaged everything. So we have to be cautious. We have to start. Now it is also giving example of Raghu Rai. Raghu Rai, in fact, I have honored to met him couple of times. He is a very, very amazing and a world-class photographer. Raghu Rai sir was world renowned for his pictures and stepped well. Like for example, they are giving example of Agrasen ki Bauli. It is in Connaught Place next to Barakhamba, and it is no more in usage, I should say. But Delhi is reviving and recreating its jode, that is, what we call small lakes and also bodies. So human stream, the last it is talking about the human stream, which it is talking about again the human element, as we also see, like in Bangalore, there was water issue. Like in Chennai, there had been issues of flash floods. In Mumbai, we have seen. In Delhi, we have seen. Even tier two and tier three cities will also have to be prepared, and then only we can say so. So we can move forward and we can take the next topic, please. Middle East must step back from the brink. Now the question arises that क्यों पीछे हटेगा and ceasefire in Gaza, how it will take place. So we can move and understand the same. Mansi, first you tell me that do you really think there is a way ahead for Middle East to be back to normalcy?
So there is a way ahead in terms of, again, the only method that India's stance clearly points towards is the diplomacy and dialogue to restore peace, and even the role of United Nations is also there. So
Mhm.
keep fighting in war is not the solution to again resolve the problems over which the war is being fought.
Very true. There are fundamental issues, and the issues are intricately linked with each other. On one hand, you have Hezbollah, Hamas, and even Houthi, rebels. They all are standing along with Iran. Iran is also not just wrong. Iran believes there are like North Korea, support of Russia, China. They also are believe that. So we can't believe and we can't understand that suddenly there will be a solution. There are different parties. For example, US. US is also having its own political advantages and also its own policy, but still what we can understand and what we can agree is that there is no solution to war, there is no solution to bombing, and it is not going to bring any kind of long term constructive solution. Even for Afghanistan, even Taliban had taken over, but do you think the peace, the prosperity, and also the development had taken place? So the article is talking about what is happening, who is attacking whom, but that is not important. We have to understand that Iran is not going to go for an all-round war because of Hamas. It is also having a lot at stake. But then diplomacy and dialogue will only come into the picture when the Western powers they leave their own vested interest. They also leave their own their hegemony, which is not going to happen. So Israel is going to stop the campaign only when it believes that it is not going to give any more incentive to it. Before that, it is not going to stop. In that sense, we can say Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to crush Hamas. That is not possible. Human spirit and human ideas can only be, can only be made reasonable by discussion at the end of the day. Enough had been already there. So the fear and destruction is going on, and we see that it is trying to create a more bigger revenue for itself. But we don't think that assassinations by intelligence and other forces are going to bring the results. That is what we have to see, and we have to understand. India is far better in that sense. People claim India is having communal violences, and India is a country where poverty, India is a country with a lot of fights are going on. But see the nature and the fight of developed countries and also industrialized nations. So that is why it is all about the perception, it is all about the Eurocentric view. And India has always believed that Palestinians must get their rights, must get their due, must get their statehood, but not at the cost of Israel. And Israel must also understand we are having a great partnership and also strategic relationship with Israel, but still we are also party to the complete geopolitical happenings and situations. So Divya, can you Mansi, can you stop screen sharing please? And दिव्या आप बताइए कि आप कैसे समराइज करेंगे हमारे डिस्कशन को, एंड यू हैव टू बी क्विक प्लीज.
जब हम अमेरिका और जापान की बात करते हैं कि वहां पर अगर शेयर मार्केट में इशू हो रहा है तो उसको इंडिया कैसे हैंडल करेगा, तो हम सेबी और निफ्टी को देख सकते हैं कि किस तरह से उनके ऊपर रूल और रेगुलेशन है जिसकी वजह से इम्पैक्ट ना हो. डॉलर का इंटरनेशनलाइजेशन है, उसकी उसमें आरबीआई रुपये का इंटरनेशनलाइजेशन करता है, उसके साथ मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी और डब्ल्यूपीआई और सीपीआई इंडेक्स को फॉलो करता है ताकि जो इंडियन इकोनॉमी है उसको सेव रखा जा सके, इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल में किया जा सके. जब हम क्लाइमेट चेंज की बात करते हैं तो जो हिस्टोरिकल पॉलिसीज है या फिर जो पहले की हड़प्पा सिविलाइजेशन थी या गुप्ता टाइम में था, उन चीजों को फॉलो किया जा सकता है. बावड़ी इसको तालाब को फिर से रीजनरेट किया जा सकता है ताकि वहां पर पानी स्टोर किया जा सके और जो भूस्तर नीचे जाता जा रहा है जल का उसको फिर से सही स्तर पर लाया जा सके. जब हम इसराइल की बात करते हैं तो जो गांधी जी ने भी जिस टाइम पर कहा था कि 50% इसराइल के लिए, 48 48% फिलीपींस के लिए और 2% जो भी रिलीजियस इशू है उसके लिए छोड़ देना चाहिए. उसके अलावा भी जब हम प्रेजेंट की बात करते हैं तो इंडिया युद्ध की नहीं बुद्ध की बात करता है. मध्यम मार्ग को अपनाया जा सकता है क्योंकि जो युद्ध है वो सिर्फ ईरान, इसराइल या फिर हिजबुल के नहीं है. वो जब हम अमेरिका की बात करते हैं उनको भी अपने इशू छोड़ने पड़ेंगे, चाहे वो इसराइल की बात करें चाहे हम यूक्रेन या रशिया की बात करें, तो तभी हो सकता है सो.
I think good points, basic ideas आपने summarize किए. Thank you very much. So please go through the assignments, go through the sessions, make your own notes, and try to revise. And rest of the strategies, as we are doing in the background, we'll continue with the same. Let's get success in a smart, transparent, and in a consistent manner. Thank you very much.